you ready, everyone?
Ready.
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 Sit! Good boy.
Lord, that's a creature from the pits of hell itself.
Oh, no, you're a good boy, aren't you? Here we are, then. Just as I said, he was hungry, gentle as a lamb if handled properly. There's no need to harm him, is there?
I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it. This is utterly extraordinary.
What is it?
I'm not entirely certain, but it's no more a dog than I am.
It seems intelligent to me. Who's a good boy, then? Eh? He's a friendly chap.
Yes, there's something very odd about it.
Very odd indeed, Doctor!
Ross!
I'll get the blackguard.
No, man, you'll only get lost in the dark.
Miss Smith, are you all right?
Only bruised and winded. I felt far worse. Doctor, is there nothing you can do?
There's plenty I can do. I want to know what Ross was up to. He came here specifically to kill the poor thing.
Was it one of us he was aiming for? I know he's a scoundrel, but I didn't think he'd stoop that low.
No, he aimed at the creature. Ross is obviously too good a shot to have been after anything else. He hit it through the heart as it moved. A difficult shot in the daylight, but almost impossible in this light. If I didn't abhor what he's done so much, I'd have to admire his skill. I think he knew exactly what this poor beast was, and this is why he's staying at Fulbright Hall. He's connected to this travesty of nature rather intimately. He's going to have some questions to answer when I catch up with him.
Well, Doctor, one way or the other, our work here is done. The poor thing is dead, and there will be no more killings.
Done? It's hardly begun. We have something very solid to work on now. I aim to perform an autopsy in the morning to see what this actually is.
I'd be happy to help in any way I can.
Good. I think the best thing you can do right now is all go back to the hall and have a good night's sleep. I'll stay here and keep watch over the body. First thing in the morning, Sir Edward, I'd appreciate your returning with a cart large enough to carry this back to the hall, and then lending me somewhere I can dissect it.
As you wish, Doctor. Your ideas have been good so far.
But what about me?
You have to go and see Breckenridge with Cromwell. I want you to take a good look at this factory of his. Make sure it really is manufacturing cables.
And not monsters, eh? Should be a doddle.
Now, Miss Smith, Mr. Breckenridge is an incredibly ingenious man. His entire factory is lit not by gas, but electricity.
I wasn't aware that electrical lighting was commercially feasible yet.
It isn't. I'm Tobias Breckenridge. You must be the Miss Smith who was so eager to visit me yesterday.
Sarah Jane, I'm pleased you agreed to show me around.
I'm very proud of what I've accomplished here. Sir Alexander has been very supportive of my work, and I do believe that I've latched onto the wave of the future.
Like the lighting?
Quite. Incandescent lamps. The invention just last year of the American Thomas Edison. Have you heard of him?
Thomas Alva Edison. Who hasn't? A genius, they say.
I suspect they say it with great accuracy. This factory would not have been possible without some of Edison's inventions. We're on the boundaries of science here, Miss Smith. I have an even dozen of his bipolar generators hard at work here. They power most of my machinery. Come, allow me to show you around.
Would you mind if I sat this out?
Of course not, Sir Alexander. I'll have my secretary bring you fresh tea. It's very gratifying to discover a person of your age and sex who is interested in such mundane matters as my humble factory.
Oh, don't be so modest. This may be a factory, but it certainly isn't humble. You are on the cutting edge of science here, and I'm fascinated by science. My colleague, the Doctor, is constantly teaching me about it.
These vats are where we load the raw materials. We import iron and other metals, mostly from the Midlands. Thinking of installing a railway line out here to bring them faster than the ships and carriages can at the moment. We get through quite an amount of iron, as I'm sure you can imagine. It's melted down in the vats. Next, we check the purity of the mix and add whatever small trace metals are needed for conductivity. Then the resultant mix is extruded through the next batch of machines. There, it is pressed into wire of uniform thickness and purity before being cooled and wound onto those large spools that you see. Some of these are simply shipped off. We have a large storage area at the back, and we continually receive and send supplies.
And the rest of the machines?
Well, there we spin and weave cables, Miss Smith. They are corded together in bundles for carrying electrical impulses. I'd take you down on the floor, but it's important to maintain safety. Besides your own, I am of course concerned with that of my men. A lady as pretty as yourself might distract them from their labours, and inattention can be dangerous, if not fatal.
I wouldn't want to cause trouble.
Thank you. This leads to the stairs to the next level, if you'd care to. This floor contains such dull but essential departments as the accountants, the shipping clerks, and the laboratories.
Laboratories? You do research here?
Don't I wish? I'm certain that we English could duplicate and surpass the achievements of Edison, given half the chance. After all, scientific method was mostly born in this country. Davy, Boyle, Kelvin, and so forth. Now, the laboratories are mostly to check samples of the cable for accuracy and conductive properties, that kind of thing. You could take a look in if you wish. You'd most likely find it rather boring.
I'll take your word for it. Is this everything?
By no means. There is the final floor. I think you might well enjoy that. Come along. This is my private part of the factory. This is where I come when I wish to relax or cogitate.
An impressive collection of species. Is that a sand shark?
It is indeed. Are you an admirer of fish?
Mostly with chips, I'm afraid. But I realise this is a most impressive collection. Is that your hobby?
More of an obsession, I'm afraid. And a fairly recent one, too. I began to study the oceans when I considered the laying of a telephonic cable to the continental United States. As I studied, marine life began to fascinate me. I've made a small fortune from my manufacturing plants here and in London, and I was able to indulge my curiosity.
Is that why you met with Captain Grey? Does he supply you with some of these samples?
No, the captain does not bring live specimens back, I'm afraid. I met with him to offer him a job. I wish to finance my own cable-laying ship, and the good captain would be a perfect choice to skipper such a vessel. But alas, I shall have to search elsewhere. Captain Grey is wedded to his love of whaling, it appears. I tried to convince him that whaling cannot last much longer, but he wouldn't listen. He knows that there are probably less than 300 Greenland whales still in those waters, but seems impervious to suggestions that the whaling should at least pause for a while to allow their numbers to be replenished. It's a terrible shame.
Quite. One day, I'm sure more people will feel as you do. Perhaps then the whalers can be put out of action.
I only hope it's so, Miss Smith.
Are there children working down there?
Yes, we have several dozen of them here. I take it you're a supporter of Mandela's Act? That you think that all children should be in school, not in work?
I am indeed.
I can sympathise, but I don't actually agree in these cases. You have to understand that the children are happy to work here.
Oh, I'll just bet they are.
See no cause for such animosity. Most of those children have lost their fathers at sea. They often have younger brothers and sisters dependent on them. Without the wages they earn here, they and their families might well all perish, and this nonsense about sending them to school wouldn't keep them alive. I feel that what I'm doing here is helping them, not harming them.
I'm sorry. It was rude of me to criticize you in that tone. Nevertheless, I feel that they would be better off being educated than worked.
And if that law passes, we may well get to discover which of us is correct. You believe they will be helped. I believe they will simply avoid going, and many will become transients upon the city streets, as they were before I helped them. Until then, perhaps we could declare a truce.
Of course. I believe you're wrong, but I admit that you are sincere, and I have to admire you for doing what you believe is right.
Good. And I admire your outspokenness, Miss Smith, for a cause you obviously believe in. Now, would you like tea and sandwiches without truce, or would you prefer to see more?
A cup of tea would be marvellous.
Excellent. Shall we go?
Hand me that scalpel, Doyle.
Certainly.
Ah, Sarah. How did the factory go?
Good. Made any great discoveries?
Indeed we have. It's been a most productive morning. Do you have any idea what this is?
Morbius's reject heap?
You're very close, Sarah. This isn't any known animal at all. In fact, it isn't even an animal. Off the cuff, I'd say it's a 10-year-old boy.
What? What do you mean?
I mean someone is tampering with the fabric of the human cell, perverting its secrets to their own purposes.
But there's no way that thing could be a 10-year-old child.
It isn't. At least it isn't anymore. But that's how the poor creature began.
Even I don't understand how it's been accomplished, but there's no doubting the Doctor's core theory. That is not some animal.
But it's impossible to create hybrids of humans and animals, isn't it?
Generally speaking, yes, but this isn't general. It's very specific. Without access to much more sophisticated analysis techniques, I can't be too sure what's happened, but the basics are fairly clear. The body structure of that creature is that of a normal human child. Somehow, though, his genetic material has been melded with that of a canine, possibly a wolf, most likely a dog of some kind.
Come off it! Are you telling me that thing is an honest-to-God werewolf?
It's not honest to anything, Sarah Jane. It's as dishonest as they come, and it's not a werewolf in the sense you imagine. This is a deliberately engineered monstrosity.
Somebody made a kid into that!
Yes. The genetic match isn't too good, and the poor creature must have been in pain constantly, and probably more than half insane.
But that's not possible. Not in this time period.
Time period? What the deuce are you talking about?
Later. No, it isn't. Which means that we're dealing with something intrusive. That kind of genetic manipulation won't be possible on this planet for at least 200 years.
Then what is happening here?
One possibility is that we have an intruder from the future.
Wait a minute. I just met someone who seems a bit too aware of what the future might bring. Breckenridge is very much aware of what laws may or may not pass in terms of whaling. Is it possible he's from the future, and he's come back to alter the course of history? That he aims to get rich when the communications boom comes in a couple of years?
It's possible. I don't know how likely it is, though. Aside from his ideas, which a shrewd businessman of this time could still come up with, and this pitiful beast, there's nothing to suggest time travel.
I refuse to be shut out of this conversation any longer. Will you two please tell me what you are discussing here? Time travel?
Look, it's very complicated. And I know you won't believe it, so let's drop it, okay?
Wait a moment. The only way that what you have both been saying makes any sense is if you claim to be from a different time period to this. The future, I assume, and you have somehow transferred back in time. Is that what you are claiming?
We're claiming nothing. Let's drop it, please.
Oh, no. You can't just raise the idea and then walk away from it. The very concept is preposterous.
Oh, it is it?
Yes, of course it is. One cannot simply move freely back and forth between the ages. I'm a rational man, and I accept only those matters that science can demonstrate to a rational man.
Oh, then heaven defend us from rational men. A pox on rationality. Has it never occurred to you that the human understanding of science is a small and pitiful thing? That there might exist vast areas outside of human knowledge that can still be explained scientifically, but not in the terms of the puny knowledge that the human race possesses at this time? That there might just be realities undescribed by and unknown to your limited grasp of science? A rational man. Ha!
Well, if you choose to put it like that...
I do so choose.
Then I have to say that you are correct, Doctor. It is arrogant to assume that everything we know is everything there is to know.
Congratulations. You've just made a huge step forward. Ignorance isn't so bad, but refusing to see ignorance is.
But I still find it hard to accept the notion of transference in time.
Then merely accept it. You've seen it, you've touched it, and you've helped me to dissect it. Explain that in terms of 19th century knowledge.
I cannot.
Good. I'd have called you a damned fool and a liar if you tried. Well, let's get a pot of tea and some scones, shall we? I do hope they have clotted cream and strawberry jam.
You're just leaving that where it is.
You're welcome to bury it if you wish, but I thought we'd do better leaving that to the local vicar.
Then what's next on the agenda after afternoon tea?
I wonder if we can hire a boat.
A boat? Whatever for?
I feel like a spot of fishing.
Let me guess. You want to see what's out at sea.
Ah! You know me so well, Sarah Jane.
Here, I say. Isn't that likely to be a trifle dangerous, given what happened to old Tolliver?
No. It's likely to be very dangerous. You needn't accompany.
You'll need my help. I'm a decent hand with a harpoon, you know, and a fair shot.
And you'd better not even dream about leaving me behind.
Ah, there's no one I'd sooner have beside me. I know you'd never stay behind.
You know me so well, Doctor.
Tolliver's boat is docked by the Pig and Thistle. I'm certain I can get Brackley to allow us to take it out.
Excellent, excellent. We meet at dusk.
It's hard to see clearly in this light, Abercrombie, but that small fishing smack down there has 3 people aboard. One of them is definitely this doctor, and the other 2 are probably Miss Smith and that Dr. Doyle from the whaler.
So what?
I wonder how much they know about our business, that's what.
What's the difference? If they're out there in the bleeding bay, they don't know much. And they won't be alive long enough to learn more, will they?
It's a pity, Abercrombie, but I fear you are quite correct. Sadly, the Doctor and his friends are likely to have a very lethal boating accident this evening.
We're far enough out. Now we just wait.
So, who brought the cards?
Do you two do this kind of thing often?
Too blooming often.
We do have a knack of walking into trouble.
Walking? Running headlong, more like. You really wouldn't believe some of the adventures we've had.
Try me.
No, I mean it. You really won't believe them. If you think that the idea that we might be from another time is hard to accept, you should try taking the doctor's pulse sometime.
I should.
No, you shouldn't. I'm in perfect health, as you can see. Sarah, stop trying to cause trouble.
Me? Cause trouble? I suppose sitting out here in a tiny boat at night with an unknown killer is playing it safe?
It's as safe as I could make it, but I need some answers to my questions, and this is the only place to get them.
Lovely sunset. Doctor! The sea!
I've heard about phenomena like this. It's a phosphorescence of some kind, as I understand it. There are minute sea creatures that glow in the night and live in colonies of thousands of individuals.
Doyle, those minute sea animals live in much warmer waters than these, and they certainly aren't organized in regular battalions. That's not a natural phenomenon.
Then what is it?
I'm not entirely sure.
Then be a little uncertain.
Offhand, I'd say it was some kind of activity taking place on the seabed and one controlled by considerable intelligence.
All right. Davy Jones is a little restless tonight, so he's holding a dance.
Sarah. I expect incredulity from Doyle, but I had hoped for far better from you. After all, you are a journalist.
Thanks a heap. Are you suggesting that there's somebody down there right now doing that in 1880?
Yes.
But how? The submarine hasn't been invented yet.
Actually, it simply hasn't developed yet. But I don't think that what we're seeing is native to this time, or perhaps native to this world.
This is getting too preposterous. That's the second time you've mentioned some kind of intrusion from another era, and now you also imply that this anomalous phenomenon might be the product of some otherworldly forces?
Forget your preconceived notions, Doyle. Use your rationality to explain that if you can. If not, shut up and listen to wiser heads than yours.
I don't know what's causing it, but it's very pretty.
Perhaps we should be a little more cautious in leaning out to observe those lights. After all, Tolliver was obviously looking over the side of the boat when he was attacked.
Ah, my dear chap, of course. That's exactly what must have happened. He saw these lights, then leaned over the side of the boat when he was attacked.
Smart thinking.
My God!
Something rammed us from below. Sarah!
She must have gone overboard. We must jump after her.
Oh, that's what the creatures want us to do. I'm going after her. The harpoon, Doyle, the harpoon!
They'll kill you!
I've got you, Sarah. I've got you.
And I've got it.
Good. Haul it up.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. That thing.
It's all right, Sarah. It's all right.
It got away.
Would you mind taking a look at Sarah? I think she's injured her hand.
Please. It's very cold. Oh dear.
And to be perfectly frank, Doctor, your story sounds utterly preposterous and like something that over-imaginative French author Jules Verne might have invested in.
This is beyond anything that Verne might have imagined. Pass the kippers, please, Doyle.
I agree, Sir Edward. It is a trifle difficult to accept, but...
A trifle? It's completely impossible, man. Mermaids?
There's that poor boy-turned-hound in the shed out back. How difficult is it to accept a girl-turned-fish after that?
I only have the assertions of the Doctor and yourself that monster was once a boy. And frankly, at the moment, I'd be inclined to doubt the pair of you if you told me the sun was going to rise again tomorrow morning.
At least I know where we stand, then. I take it that you are not willing to help me any longer.
I didn't say that, but try and keep your requests rational.
Ah, I should have known it. Another rational man.
Doctor, Miss Smith is awake and would like to see you.
Of course, Alice. Doyle, stop making such a pig of yourself and let's go see Sarah, shall we?
Doctor, tell them that I can get out of bed. This scratch is all that's wrong with me, and it'll heal just as well out of bed as in it. Are you going to get me my dress, or do I have to walk around the house in my nightgown?
You're an immoral girl, Sarah.
If you'd seen some of the gear I wear, you'd be certain of that.
Why don't we compromise? You stay in bed till lunchtime, then get up. But only if you promise to come back to bed if you don't feel well.
Deal. Now, will the pair of you tell us what's going on out in the bay?
I think she must have cracked her head, Doctor. She claims that she was saved last night by a mermaid, and everyone knows there are no such things.
Then everyone is wrong, because I caught a glimpse of one too. I'm not sure how it was created, but there are mermaids living at the bottom of your garden.
Told you so. Then what was it that attacked me?
There are two kinds of creature down there. The young mermaid is one, and the other that attacked you looked of a mutant seal.
Obviously the creature that killed old Ben Tolliver.
Yes, some kind of guardian, I'd venture to say. It's supposed to kill or scare off anyone who gets too close to the lights, as we saw. But you killed one, or at least grievously injured it, and it sunk too quickly to get a good look at it.
But it's got to be related to the hound, right?
Yes. It's certainly more than any seal born naturally on this world. The basic structure appeared to be a common grey seal, but it had been enhanced.
You think it was another constructed beast, like that hound? A child mutilated somehow into a seal?
I think it was the other way around. A seal that had human characteristics like enhanced intelligence grafted onto it.
And that mermaid, she was real. So she must have been a child merged somehow with a fish.
More likely a dolphin or a porpoise. I only had a glimpse of the girl in poor light, but her tail was smooth, not scaled. Of course! Mammalian natures combined, just like the boy and the dog.
Something that occurs to me, Doctor, is that the Hope has plenty of mammalian matter aboard it in the form of whale and seal products. The captain's business with Breckenridge has something to do with those, I should guess.
It's quite possible, but this is mere supposition. We have no evidence linking him to the mermaids, do we?
We could get it, if we sneak into the factory and have a good look-see.
Oh, no. You are staying here, Sarah. I can't follow everything that you have been saying, but this is obviously quite dangerous. It is no task for a woman.
She's right that it's dangerous, Sarah. You rest up while Doyle and I check into it. Maybe you could talk to Alice and explain a little about women's lib. Come on, Doyle. Want to wager that by the time we return, Sarah will have turned the whole social order at the house upside down.
Good Lord. She's not one of those militant females, is she?
Oh, of course not. Nothing that mild.
We've still got a half-mile or more to go, Doctor. Or were you planning a side trip?
Not exactly. Just a thought that struck me. That's Breckenridge's factory, and that's the bay where we were last night. I wonder if it's no more than coincidence that the factory overlooks the bay. I wonder if you can see the bay from the top floor of the factory. That's where Sarah said Breckenridge has his private retreat.
From that angle, I'd say it was quite likely. Why?
Because Breckenridge should have been able to see the wheel of light from up there in that case, and yet he's never reported doing so. I wonder why.
Perhaps he never works late.
Oh, he's a self-made man. You never get to be one unless you're prepared to work long hours. I think Sarah's right, and that he's mixed up in this affair somehow.
Perhaps he is. Hadn't we better move on and see if we can get in to talk to him?
In a moment. I was rather hoping that the boy hiding behind that tree over there would come out and talk to us before we left. Billy, isn't it?
How would you know I was there?
It's my business to know things, Billy. How'd you do? I'm the doctor. I believe we have a mutual friend in Sarah Jane Smith.
Astounding, my dear Doctor.
Not many can spot me, mister. You be pretty clever.
Thank you, Billy. Now, did you come here to tell me how brilliant I am, or do you have some news for me?
It was for Miss Smith. But, seeing as she ain't here, I suppose I could tell you. Early this morning, just after daybreak, there was a big wagon that made a delivery at the factory.
Hardly surprising.
Not that early. The workers wouldn't have arrived, and it means that the wagon must have been waiting nearby since yesterday to make a delivery at that time. It suggests they didn't want to be seen, doesn't it, Billy?
It does. There weren't no supplies that factory needs. I can't read, so I don't know what was in them. But it were some barrels of some sort.
Excellent work, Billy.
A shilling, sir.
For your troubles. Let me know if you see or hear anything further, will you?
Stay you are. There's no admittance.
Are you out of your mind? Didn't your master tell you to expect us?
I wasn't told to expect anybody.
Then someone has made a grave error. We are with Lord Shaftesbury's committee. We have had reports that children are employed at this site and are empowered to investigate and report on their working conditions. I am certain that Mr. Breckenridge was notified of our arrival. Now let us in!
I wasn't told about new arrivals. I can't let you in.
By thunder, this is intolerable.
I say it is! Very well. We shall return with the local magistrate and a court order in 15 minutes, and the constable with a warrant for your arrest. Impeding an official inquiry is a serious charge. What's your name?
Oh, here. There's no need for that.
Then announce us to Mr. Breckenridge.
I can't. He isn't here at the moment.
Then who is in charge, man?
The factory manager, Mr. Kinney.
Then go and get him. Now!
Do you think this bluff will work?
All the better for Breckenridge not being around. Flunkies are much easier to hoodwink than bosses. Stay in character and ask pertinent questions about the welfare of the child workers.
Hello, I'm Jack Kenny. I'm afraid nothing was said about any inspection.
That's not my fault. You'll have to do for now. When will the owner be back?
Later today, sir. I'm not certain precisely when, but if you care to return...
What? And allow you the opportunity to cover up all your scandalous practices? Do you think we're feeble-minded, man?
I assure you, there's nothing untoward happening here, and we have nothing to hide.
Then let us in! We are the ones who will determine the truth of that, not you. Here, you blithering idiot, my credentials. Didn't you think to ask to see them?
Ah, Dr. John Smith of Unit. I thought you said...
That I work at the moment for Lord Shaftesbury. I am on loan as a specialist man. Can't you see that for yourself? How can you be in charge of a factory when you can't even read plain English?
Right. Let them in. What do you gentlemen need to see first?
Where precisely are the children employed? I must make a thorough inspection of their work area to ensure its compliance with all relevant legislation.
Quite. Over here. This way. This is the accounting floor. Of course, no children.
Where are the shipping logs? What chemicals do you use here? Are any of them endangering the health of the children?
Right here.
And what's upstairs from here?
Mr. Breckenridge's personal offices.
Do any children work up there?
None at all.
Well, I'd like to be certain of that.
Quite impossible. Even I don't have a key to that floor. Only Mr. Breckenridge does.
And he is conveniently absent. This does not bode well, you know.
I think that we've seen all we care to for the moment, but tell your employer that we shall return tomorrow morning and expect to be met by him personally and shown around. If there is any sign of alterations upstairs, we shall bring down the full force of the law on his and your head. Do you understand?
Yes, of course, absolutely no problem.
There had better not be. I would hate to have to report further infractions. Good day, sir.
There won't be.
I said good day! How did I do?
Admirably. You distracted the poor chap perfectly, allowing me to make my own determinations. I'm more convinced than ever that our missing friend is involved in this little business. There are signs of a burdened cart having arrived and departed this morning. About a dozen drums were unloaded and taken into one of the storage sheds.
You could tell all that from marks in the dirt?
And that scent of formaldehyde in the second shed. There also wasn't a shipping bill for that delivery.
And whatever answer there is to this mystery is to be found on the third floor?
No. Sarah's been shown that floor. I suspect the secrets are hidden below ground rather than above.
Below?
I was quite intrigued by the chips and grooves cut into the stone floor beside one of the lathes that doesn't appear to have been operated recently. I'd like to stay in town this evening, at the Pig and Thistle. It'll be easier to slip into the factory that way.
I like your manner of thinking, Doctor. I'm your man.
I rather thought I could rely on your help. We may well be walking into grave danger, you know. Do you possess a revolver? And would you be willing to use it if the need arises?
Yes and yes. I'm very keen to see this mystery through to the end.
Fine. Then you'd better settle matters with Captain Grey. I'll meet you back here at the stroke of midnight.
I don't know how I let you talk me into doing this.
Oh, stop complaining. I thought you'd agreed that you had to know the truth about matters.
Yes, but going off alone like this could be very dangerous, you know.
Look, you can't hide behind men all your life, you know? Sometimes you've got to step out and face life full in the face. Otherwise, what are you? A slave, a dish rag, or a wimp?
The doctor will be annoyed, and my father will be furious.
If I'm right, we've got a good chance of getting the real lead on whoever's behind this whole plot. According to the doctor, old Ben Tolliver was buried yesterday. Constable Feversham guarded the cemetery last night, but he can't pull night duty twice in a row. He has to sleep sometime. And the villains that nabbed Mrs. Bellever's body took it on a second night last time. I'll bet that they're trying again tonight. All we have to do is follow them, then send for the authorities, who'll catch the gang red-handed. That's why I need a bit of help. I can't watch the crooks and go for help at the same time. It's just a matter of getting used to it. Anything a man can do, a woman can do better. Believe me. Let's ride. I think you've done more than I should have asked.
No, Sarah. I promised to help you and I will not back down now.
It's much harder for you to go through this than it is for me. We've had very different upbringings. Look, ride back to the hall and make sure your father stays up for a few hours. Tell him where I am and what I'm doing. If I read Sir Edward right, he'll insist on coming to my help with a rescue party. That way, if I get into trouble, he can help bail me out of it. Can't he?
You think that's a good idea?
I'm sure it is.
But what if you need help?
I'll get in touch with Billy. I'm sure one of the kids will be more than willing to bear messages for me. Someone will help me. I guarantee it.
You can count on me.
I'm sure I can.
Luckily for you, someone is more willing to help out a maiden in distress.
Lord, what have I done to deserve this? What happened to the other two stooges?
McBee and Duns! They got caught smoking behind the groundsman's shed. They're in detention, silly buggers, but I'm here and I'm eager to help.
Oh, lucky me. Okay, you can come along, but you better behave. That means no lewd comments. Understand?
Absolutely. The soul of honour, that's me.
Why do I find that so hard to believe? No, don't answer that. And follow me. We're headed to the graveyard. We'll be under cover, and we'll have a good view at Tolliver's grave.
Alice! A little late to be out riding, isn't it?